This iconic sculpture behind me, created by Marco Cianfanelli and Jeremy Rose of Mashabane Rose Architect. It is a remarkable monument to Nelson Mandela, the first president to be democratically elected in 1994 to lead South Africa's constitutional democracy. It is from here where the Center for Creative Arts at the University of KwaZulu-Natal and UMngeni Municipality, we are proud to present the second annual Artfluence Human Rights Festival. I am Sipindile Hlongwa, a curator and a senior administrator at the Center for Creative Arts. Welcome to the launch of the Artfluence Human Rights Festival. This outstanding sculpture, titled Release, is located in Howick in the UMngeni Municipality in KwaZulu-Natal. Made from 50 steel columns carefully designed by the artist, have been brought together to form the face of Nelson Mandela. The full impact of the sculpture can be seen 30 meters away from it. This world-renowned sculpture is now a vital attraction that brings tourists from South Africa and abroad to the Nelson Mandela Capture Site Museum to commemorate the historical moment of 6 August 1962, the day when Nelson Mandela was captured by the apartheid forces along this road, the R103, and which subsequently led to his 27-year imprisonment before his long walk to freedom. Here I stand on this very site almost 60 years later to the day that Nelson Mandela was captured, and I'm proud to announce the launch of the second annual Artfluence Human Rights Festival presented by the Center for Creative Arts. This year, in partnership with UMngeni Municipality, UMngeni Tourism and the Nelson Mandela Capture Site Museum. Located on the R103, approximately 5 kilometers outside Howick in KwaZulu-Natal, Nelson Mandela was pretending to be a chauffeur when he was arrested after he had just paid a visit to the ANC President Chief Albert Luthuli's home in Gradville. This Austin Westmeister is a replica of the vehicle that Nelson Mandela was driving when he was arrested. This car is one of many of the fascinating exhibits at the Nelson Mandela Capture Site Museum. The museum's immense exhibits include a 360 surround film and a dazzling display of historical artifacts, photographs, and newspaper cuttings that tells a remarkable story about South Africa's struggle for liberation. Funded by the KwaZulu-Natal Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department and managed by the Apartheid Museum, the Nelson Mandela Capture Site Museum opened its doors to the public in December 2019. However, with the COVID-19 pandemic that took its deadly toll on the global community and which resulted in the temporary shutdown of all museums, galleries, theaters, and other cultural spaces, the Nelson Mandela Capture Site had to shut down for the past 2 years. Its bustling interpretation center and exhibition hall had gone dark and quiet without any visitors. For us at the Center for Creative Arts at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, it is inspiring to launch the second annual Artfluence Human Rights Festival from this site, not only to commemorate 60th anniversary of the capture of Nelson Mandela, but also to find renewed inspiration from his powerful and incredible imagination that has earned him a Nobel Prize and a reputation as one of the greatest leaders of the century. Finding our home in this museum, which is located in the UMngeni Municipality, we are proud to present the second annual Artfluence Human Rights Festival, with the funding support of the University of KwaZulu-Natal and UMngeni Local Municipality. For newly elected Mayor of UMngeni Municipality, Councillor Chris Pappas, the advancing of a culture of human rights is vital for UMngeni Municipality, and a partnership with the Artfluence Human Rights Festival is one that he describes as being the right kind of thing to do.
So we come from such an incredibly diverse community, whether it's geography, race, age, background, religion. And it's important that when we are given opportunities to celebrate, to recognize those differences, that we do so in a way that we are able to appreciate each other. So this particular festival is one of those ways to do that. Human rights are often something that we see on paper, something that we talk about in our constitution, but when we try to live and when we try to experience those in a real way, this is when festivals such as these play an important role in how we address this as a municipality.
We need someone who will fight, to fight for what's right, not empty the coffers, then ask what I did wrong. It's a rhetorical question. When you know the answer, well, you're just a chancer who should go to jail. Is it you? Is it you? Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril, is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril, is it you? We need someone who will fight to turn on the lights, not switch off the power, then ask me to pay more. It's a rhetorical question. If you know the answer, well, you're just a chancer. Hashtag #AskCommas4. Is it you? Is it you? Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril, is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril, is it you?
Human beings have always told stories and told their history through storytelling, through music and through the arts. And it's important that as we grow a society that we don't forget where we come from and where we are going. And arts is one of the important ways that we do that. It is both the written word, it is the spoken word, it is acting, and it is the creative representation of where we are going and where we come from. So it's important for us as a municipality to recognize this important sector and the role that it has played in growing our society and the role that it's still going to play, especially that we've seen it being oppressed or put down over so many months due to COVID-19. So it's important that we start to rebuild this and rebuild what we hold and cherish as human beings, and that is storytelling as well as representation through the arts.
We need someone who will fight for our Constitution, turn words on a page into real solutions, get rid of dirty officials, corrupt politicians, and make the decision to set us free. Is it you? Is it you? Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril, is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Cyril Ramaphosa, Cyril
So the icon that is President Nelson Mandela brought so many people together. It inspired us and inspired the change in a country. So for us to be privileged to have such a site here in our beautiful KwaZulu-Natal Midlands is something that we need to cherish and look after. So as the UMngeni Municipality, it's by bringing events such as these to this particular site, by partnering with the people who look after this particular site, and making sure that it is continued space that is used to remember and build on a legacy of an important man and important history of our country.
As this historic site slowly returns to normality with the ending of the national lockdown, it is once again attracting tourists. We speak to some of the visitors we found at the site.
First saw Wedgwood Confectionery, and we love the biscuits. So we're from Johannesburg, just as context, and we're heading down to Belito. So yeah, I mean, we stopped there for a second, and then I saw this, and I was like, "What? This is incredible!" In fact, I thought this was an Instagrammable moment. I didn't know that there is a whole entire museum here, and you know, so we sort of came in and we saw, geez, apartheid museum and so forth. Now, I've always been a massive advocate of consciousizing these guys in many respects, like since they were really, really young, you know. I tried to teach them about the different sort of branches of government, the difference between the executive, the legislator, and the judiciary. Tried to sort of just give them a sense of our history, who we are, where we came from. So this for me was so fortuitous, the fact that we just landed here in such a, you know, like just such a well sort of comprehensively laid out experience of our history. And I had a wonderful conversation with the guys, moving from the Bambata sort of rebellion visuals there throughout the journey, looking at like even international figures like Selassie and you know and Kenneth Kaunda and how he was involved, sort of just giving them a sense of, at least to the best of my understanding, our history as a country, as a continent, and really as I think a planet, you know, just sort of giving them a sense of how Gaviism sort of played a role in our understanding of, in fact, in the emergence of Rastafarianism, ultimately off the back of Marcus Garvey's prophecy, some might say, that an emperor will rise in Africa. That's how we got Selassie, and like the lineage from a Solomonic dynasty perspective, and then, you know, sort of like the how that sort of narrative interfaces with the rest of sub-Saharan Africa via Kenneth Kaunda, Nelson Mandela, or Tambo, just giving them a great sense of just how well knitted we are as an international community, as a people. That for me was, it was wonderful to be able to do that. And also we got our Instagram moments, you know, not complaining.
That's great. So tell me, what are you taking away from this experience, being a learner in this instance?
I would say I learned something new about my Black history, because I didn't know a lot of things that I read on today when we were walking in, I don't know what the place is called.
It's the museum.
The museum,
yes.
It was new information to me, so I'd say I'm gonna take the new information I learned.
Coincidentally, you ended up in the space. What are you taking away from the experience?
No, I actually enjoyed it very much. I feel like it taught me a lot more about our history as Africans, as Black people, and as a continent. Because in school, you're not really taught as much as this. They just teach you like one person and all of that. So it was actually very nice to be here with my brother, who's been trying to get us onto like pro-Black consciousness and stuff. So I actually enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it actually a lot. And the sculpture is really cool.
It's incredible.
You got your gram. You got your gram.
Absolutely.
Just in one word, how would you capture your visit here? Or how would you just pop it on your gram?
Exceptional for me.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you so much for this.
We just need names for the box office.
The Artfluence Human Rights Festival is one of 7 festivals supported by the Center for Creative Arts. The others are the Time of the Writer Festival, Poetry Africa, Jomba Contemporary Dance Experience, Durban International Film Festival, Jazz Freedom Day Festival, and the Cabaret and Beyond Festival.
Program Director, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. It is my singular honor to welcome you to this year's Artfluence Human Rights Festival. The theme for the second annual festival is Freed Imagination, Resilience, Action and Change. This year's festival commemorates the 60th anniversary of the capture of Baba Rolihlahla Mandela by the apartheid forces just outside of Howick, leading to his trial and detention on Robben Island. Despite his incarceration in Robben Island for 27 years, Baba Rolihlahla Mandela emerged as a leader whose freed imagination was marked by resilience, action, and change. It is for this reason that the online launch of the festival is taking place from the Mandela capture site in Howick, and hence our partnership with the Mandela Capture Site Museum, the UMngeni Municipality, and UMngeni Tourism. In partnering with the museums in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, the CCA aims to highlight the cultural and heritage legacies of these institutions. For the Time of the Writer Festival in March, the CCA partnered with the Luthuli Museum. For the Poetry Africa Festival, the CCA partnered with the Pansy Museum. And for last year's Artfluence Human Rights Festival, the CCA partnered with the Kwamuhle Museum. On behalf of the executive of the University of KwaZulu-Natal, I hereby express the university's steadfast commitment to the Center for the Creative Arts. We applaud the role it has played and continues to play in championing the creative arts as a vehicle for social and cultural emancipation, resistance to oppression, and social change. As a socially engaged university that seeks to be a premier university of African scholarship, we are mindful that the creative arts in Africa, drawing from the tradition of the Imbongi or the bard, have always been entrusted with the responsibility to criticize without fear or favor in order to ensure justice and the rule of law. The legacy of Baba Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela teaches us that freedom from resentment in the tradition of Ubuntu can go a long way towards the strengthening of our democracy. In partnering with museums and cultural agencies across the province and beyond, it is our aim to work together so that we can learn to reciprocate the values of Ubuntu and social justice that were part of President Mandela's vision. Let me take this opportunity to express our sincerest condolences to the families that lost their beloved ones during the recent floods in the province. The catastrophic and tragic event calls upon us to strengthen the bonds that bind us together as one human family. On behalf of the CCA and the University of KwaZulu-Natal, I hereby express our sincerest appreciation to all our partners: the Mandela Capture Site Museum, the UMngeni Municipality, and UMngeni Tourism. We also thank all our past partners who have always ensured that the activities of the CCA are a resounding success. Sithi Ugwanda Kwaliwa Umtagat. I also wish to thank the director of the CCA, Dr. Ismail Mohammed, and his staff, and the dean and head of the School of the Arts, Professor Hlongwa, for their visionary leadership. Last but not least, all the participating artists and you, the audience. In Africa, we say performance is incomplete without the participation of the audience. With those background words, I wish to thank you all again, and may this year's festival be a resounding success. Ngiyabonga, I thank you.
For the past 25 years, the festivals presented by the Center for Creative Arts have supported artistic excellence, encouraged innovation, and built meaningful and strong partnership with both local and international agencies.
Toxic relations, I walk away. Valueless circles, those end today. I choose to put myself first, and I am closing my ears to the words that are meant to shrink me. Fast life acceptance, pleasure moments, likes on the socials, that's about it. I choose to put myself first, and I am closing my ears to the words that are meant to shrink me. I choose me over and over again. I choose me over and over again. Mama, when did we lose each other? You never hear me. Presumed destination of a life that is mine. No consultations to see if I'm fine. I choose to put myself first, and I am closing my ears to the words that are meant to shrink me. Granted no choices in my own parents' plans, my contribution to please the clan. I choose to put myself first, and I am closing my ears to the words that are meant to shrink me. Ooh, eh, oh, eh. I choose me over and over again. I choose me over and over again. Choose me. I'm so tired of people telling me what to do. When, where, how, and not even why.
I have accommodated people and their feelings way too long. And today I choose myself. I choose me. Ooh, eh, oh, eh, way, oh, eh, way, oh, eh, oh, eh. Ooh, eh, oh, eh, way, oh, eh, way, oh, eh, oh, eh.
This year, the Center for Creative Arts has also partnered with the recently launched UMngeni Tourism to support and promote cultural tourism to the capture site to help us all to strengthen our consciousness about Nelson Mandela's remarkable struggle for human rights for all.
Nelson Mandela said it's not the mere fact that we have lived, it's the difference that we have made that will determine the significance of the life we've led. And I believe that this capture site encapsulates that. He made a tremendous difference, not only to the people that lived in his era, but to us today. And coming to UMngeni Municipality, the capture site itself just inspires that. The artistic expression, the way people have put this place together, the sculpture, the beadwork, the memories, the dynamic audios that have been created are all part of that impact that it makes on people's lives. They go away from here. I've seen people come in here, the emotional response to what they see is tremendous. You go out of here a changed person.
The Center for Creative Arts also expresses appreciation to the Nelson Mandela capture site because it is from here, at this museum, where we will present our Artfluence Live in UMngeni program. So when we reopened in August 2020, we were not really expecting to see visitors coming through because of the level 3 restrictions still. But because of the sculpture at the bottom, which is an outside sort of an activity, we were able to open to the public again, to the visitors. So the visitors came in numbers to support the capture site, but also from the fact that they've been locked into their homes for so many months, for about 5 months. So they came into to the capture site to experience the history of Nelson Mandela, of the capture site as a historical a site. So yeah, we were excited to see visitors coming in because we were not really betting on seeing anyone coming in because of COVID. The Artfluence Live in UMngeni program will feature a 6-day program of dance, music, poetry, film, and theatre. We will feature the internationally celebrated South African poet Lebo Mashile with local poets from KwaZulu-Natal.
In 3000 AD, to be human is to be African. Robotic humanoids make up most of the Earth's beings. They have the utmost respect for human DNA, a helix that links them to the beginnings of life on the African continent. 2500 AD. There are no borders in the world. There is no distance between races, genders, nations, gods, and languages. Africa is the heart of the planet. Our resources feed the world. They always have. Our people, a kaleidoscope of color and ancestry, move freely. We are revered for holding the history of humanity. We are respected for what we have endured and contributed to the world. Ours is a story of transcendence, how to dive into the heart of pain to get to the bottom of the truth, how to walk with fear without being consumed by it, how to coexist with difference through self-respect and respect of the other. Who we are is embedded in all that we do and everything that originates from us. The world eats the flesh of our land, adorns itself with our magical art, and learns through our sciences and prospers through our understanding of humanity. 2100 AD. There is no more hunger in Africa except for a hunger for memories. Our leaders are teachers, artists, and historians. They are alchemists who transform legacies of pain into dignity by helping our people hold up mirrors to themselves. Each story is important. The farmer's son who is now an entrepreneur, the descendants of slaves who learned how to read and write, the child bride who became a doctor. Our leaders are midwives of an ancient people being born again. 2050 AD. The last slave is freed in Mauritania. Child soldiers are now old men who weave fantastic tales of unfathomable suffering to wide-eyed children who sleep in warm homes and wake up to go to schools that teach them the truth. The children learn about sculptures made of bullets, guns, and shackles, and machetes that decorate every town from Addis Ababa to Accra. For every battle fought, a poet writes a poem. Our leaders are engineers, architects, farmers, builders who work side by side with the people. Our leaders listen more than they speak. Our leaders do more than they promise. 2020 AD. The women of the African continent create a tidal wave that carries the world to a new understanding of what it means to respect life. The peasant, politician, worker, student, and professional see that their lives are linked. Our leaders think like mothers, the very first leaders any human ever knows. Africa asks itself what is best for the mother and the child, because that is what is best for everyone. 2015 AD. The first female president of Egypt starts her first day at school. She is half Nubian, half Arab and Muslim. She counts stars with her father, and she prays for the children washing up on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. Small bodies like hers that perish with fresh dreams inside them. She will lead her people to illustrate their dreams like God paints new skies in the heavens each day. She will enrage those who cannot accept that she is capable of leading. She will lead with the compassion of one who knows that the bottom of the seas were once littered with dreamers.
A jazz concert would feature students from the Center for Jazz at UKZN and support local musicians from UMngeni. Umongo is a multisensory experience of indigenous African musical instruments. The exhibition invites audiences and custodians of old age music traditions on a conjoint of music making and consumption, with a particular focus on the relationship between player and the instrument. Both entities conjoined to form a vessel that transmits sound, heritage, and frequencies. The 5 protagonists of this undertaking are amongst some of the oldest instrument players in the region. They liberate overlooked narrative through 6 instruments from the comforts of their homes through their personal histories.
Mina ngoba vile ngene ozalwa waBheki nguMabheki kahle. Akhona ngawazi ukuthi ngawubonisa usisi wami omdala umkhushukwane wakwethu. Uyena wayodlala. Kwakuyinto nje yayikhona endaweni isetshenziswa izintombi umakhweyana. Ngawubona kuyena ngawuthanda ke nami ngase ngifunda khona ngimncane. Mina ngangibona ukuthi nje mangidlala umakhweyana nje angazi ukuthi ngathini kodwa nje ngangibona ngiqala nje kuzwa usise udlala. Ngangibona nje ukuthi uyajula. Ngokudlala lo makhweyana wakhe uyajula. Ucabanga izinto nami engazazi ukuthi ucabangani kodwa ujulile. Ngase ngivele nami nguthanda lapho nje yabona nje ngawuthanda ukuthi uyabona nje ngisho noma ngabe uhamba wedwa noma ngabe udlala uyazizwa nje ukuthi manje usemdlandleni ujulile yabo. Mawuqala nje kwakho umakhweyana uhamba ehlathini uyogawula uthi ubobe nangapha futhi ngakithi le kwakukhona uboba ngoba namanje ngisaqhubeka ngalo. Ubuse uthatha isigobongo seswela ubuse usiqaqa kahle athi usiklina usiqaqa kahle la musuqeda uqaqa usubeka phansi lokho ade uqaqa usuyaqala ke manje uyabhobosa ngapha. Sibe uthatha ucingo ufake eothini ufake uthini ucingo usuzothatha lolu cingo uthi isibe sokuzobamba bani esekuzobamba uthaka lula usifake la isigobongo lapha esigobongweni sizofaka la isigobongweni suthi usifakile ke isihibeke la usiyaqala ke manje ukuthi uthatha le inkatha le indwangu uqala uyithu la indwangu ubuse uthatha enye indwangu encane ubuse ugoqa ngayo inkatha kuthiwa inkatha ke le uthatha uthi ubeka ufaka la ubuse ukudlala ke ukusethe kodwa ngeke ukudlale nje noma kanjani uzokusetha ukuze uthi hayi akukakhali kahle la uphinde futhi unyusele ngiyathanda ukuthi nabatwana abancane futhi bewufunde lo makhweyana ungapheli bengafisi ukuthi uphele lo makhweyana.
Cedric Sandstorm's film, titled If This Be Treason, is a moving tribute to South Africa's fearless anti-apartheid activist, Helen Joseph. She's one of the prime leaders of the Women's March that took place in Pretoria in 1956 at the Union Buildings. This film is a passionate portrayal of her deep resistance for oppression. The festival will screen If This Be Treason to commemorate the 30th anniversary of her death this year.
Strike will go on until our demands are met.
We start with her in 1992 when she's in hospital, in fact dying. In terms of where she stood politically and where she was going to go, There was an easy way out, and there was the path that she chose.
Society must be protected from fanatics.
When she first came to this country, she was appalled that she couldn't go and talk to the Indian people that she'd been friendly with in India. And there was this apartheid, even though it wasn't called that when she first came here.
A network of treason.
I would not support a violent method to achieve liberation.
What was going around in that country at the time? It was, very hush-hush.
It is an interesting aspect of the struggle, the apartheid struggle, the Women's League.
The fact that she became involved in the work she did was really chance.
She treaded on grounds where nobody wanted to tread on.
She's one of the most powerful women I've ever come across.
An example must be made.
We tried very hard to dispel all the misinterpretations. One, they thought she was a communist. Two, she was an atheist. Three, that she was South African. She was none of the three.
She was fascinating, but she was probably quite a simple person. I think she would have called herself a simple person.
She was a leader, and she basically wanted to see women living a good life.
We have got to tighten the noose.
I refuse to be intimidated. Helen did have a time when she could have chosen not to go in the direction she went in. She'd become involved with black people. She'd become aware of what they were going through and how unfair the whole policy was. And that probably was her path where she chose. No, this is the direction I'm going in.
She wasn't a lone voice, but she certainly was a voice that people listened to. And of course, obviously the government were intimidated by her.
She was under house arrest for 9 years.
I hate it.
You must be careful, Mrs. Joseph.
Come on, sing! Tell me who gave you these banned books!
When we went in there and I looked at the conditions where they lived, and for me it just hit me that how on earth could these women actually be able to handle and to compose themselves.
She didn't make herself a political person at all. That wasn't her intentions.
The minister is to declare a state of emergency tomorrow.
She had courage in whatever she wanted to do.
I have no confidence whatsoever in the bona fides of the Minister of Justice, nor do I accept his assurances for our safety during the state of emergency regulations.
This kind of film does have a place in South Africa and in the new South Africa.
She will not be forgotten by the people with whom she worked. But I wonder in 20 years' time whether people will remember Helen Joseph.
The state has decided not to ask for the death penalty.
I sentence you to 25 years in prison.
We will overcome.
Forgive me, God.
For UMngeni Mayor, Councillor Chris Pappas, a walk through history and an engagement with the arts is vital to reflect on the past, engage with our present time, and to reflect on the kind of future where social cohesion binds us all together with our common and shared humanity.
Njengoba sazi siphuma kwisikhathi se-lockdown, siyazi ukuthi abantu abacindezeleka kakhulu, abantu abasebenza kwi-arts and culture. Njengomasipala waseMngeni, sifuna ukuqinisekisa ukuthi sithuthukisa abantu abasebenza kule sector. Okubalulekile ukuthi sivula amathuba lapho khona abantu bazokwazi ukufika bajabule nokuthi babone lezi zinto esinazo njengomkhandlu. Siyazi ukuthi sihlale endaweni ezihlukahlukene, noma kuseMpophomeni noma kuseHowick, endaweni zasemakhaya, endaweni zasemalokishini nasemajaldini. Okubalulekile ukuthi njengomkhandlu ukuze sithuthukise abantu bonke, sizihlanganise sonke ukuze sikwazi ukubona ukuthi noma sihlala endaweni ezihlukene, sinekusasa elodwa nekusasa elifanayo.
For local artists in UMngeni, the Artfluence Human Rights Festival is a springboard to greater opportunities. UMngeni-based artist and storyteller Makubalo Ikaneng was last month honored by the Center for Creative Art as the 2022 Time of the Writer Festival's literature champion.
I wish I was Magdalena today.
Today, I wish I was my Panama. Today, I wish. My name is Apula, my name is Apula. As a rain queen, Maina was responsible for bringing water to the kingdom. So every time there was a drought, people would go to Maina's house and say, my name. That's in Vula. And Maina would go up the mountain. Every time there was drought in the land, touch the clouds. I will tell them that my grandfather's brother, sister's cousin's niece, nephew, cousin has passed away. I remember primary school. I used to sleep at every opportunity that I got. The principal has gone to the district office. The whole school slept. Yeah.
Why are you so sad?
The theme for this year's festival is Freed Imagination, Resilience, Action and Change. Curating the 2022 program is Yushra Badin, a dynamic cultural leader who mapped out the curatorial pathway for the 2021 edition of the Artfluence Human Rights Festival. Yushra Badin is an accomplished curator who delicately and sensitively merges the arts with political engagement to foster dialogue.
Good morning from Cape Town. Not sure what time of day you're listening to this, but it's morning for me, and this is my morning view of a state building burnt down. 60 years ago, Mandela was captured. 60 years later, the state is captured. The arts are giving meaning for why that's happened. The arts are explaining what we can't explain through the massive information coming through the news and politicians speak and the gaslighting that we get from people who work here. So listen to what the artists are saying, because they make sense of it. They cut through the bullshit and they explain in a way that speaks to your heart and not just your head to confuse you. This festival is about celebrating those artists who are doing the work for free, who are doing the work unfunded, who are doing the work without acknowledgement, who are shifting society, giving young people the inspiration to use their voices, who are incubating works, who are giving spaces and platforms for productions to thrive. We've had 2 years of lockdown and lost so much work and performers. I've had many performers message me and say, hey, I'm now in real estate, I'm now selling water, because they couldn't find work in the industry because there was no support from the government, from the minister. We have massive issues of dissent between communities in Cape Town about the rights of First Nations people. Where's the government? Happy? Are they happy for this dissent to happen, for communities to break up? For the people outside Pretoria who've been camping there for years now, for their livelihoods to be taken away out of a right to protest. These things are not supposed to happen, but it's been the role of the government to take away the power of the arts, to minimize it, to give it the smallest funding, to make it seem like the smallest department portfolio. But it's because they know the power of the arts to wake people up, to let people know what's up, to let people know that what's going on isn't right. Because during apartheid, it was the artists who brought international attention to what is going on here. It was the Miriam Makebas, the Hugh Masekelas, the films that were smuggled out of the country to let people know what's actually happening here, which gave meaning and feeling.
The second annual Artfluence Human Rights Champion Award is presented to a South African filmmaker who grew up in Soweto in the 80s and immersed herself in the struggle against apartheid. Not only did she fight racial oppression, but she played a pivotal role in organizing the first Gay Pride March in South Africa, and which subsequently led to South Africa's transformed legislation and constitutional rights that guaranteed freedom and dignity for all people, irrespective of racial, gender, sexual identity, or other differences. Recognizing her canon on film and continued activism, the Center for Creative Arts at the University of KwaZulu-Natal is proud to announce Beverly Ditsey as a recipient of the second annual Artfluence Human Rights Champion Award. This year, the Artfluence Human Rights Festival will introduce 2 additional awards to complement the festival's bouquet of human rights awards. The inaugural Artfluence Human Rights Lifelong Champion Award is presented to poet, journalist, writer, and community activist Baba Don Matera to honor his rich legacy so that future generations will be inspired by his immense sacrifice and contribution that he has made on behalf of all South Africans in the realm of literature, arts, journalism, and the liberation of South Africa. The inaugural Artfluence Human Rights Award for Youth Activism is aimed at recognizing the work and contributions of a South African youth who work committedly towards achieving social justice and more equitable society. While the award is intended to profile and raise awareness about the youth activists and their contribution, the bigger aim of this award is to inspire other youth by offering them credible role models from their own generation.
Thank you to the Artfluence Human Rights Festival and the Center for Creative Arts at UKZN. I'm deeply humbled and grateful that I'm a recipient of the inaugural Youth Activism Award, noting that the work now must double and in fact triple in order to build a more just, sustainable, equal, and safe world for all of us. The world as we know it today is threatened on many fronts. Democracy is eroding, and people's power is diminishing. These are challenges that we have to face as a people and ask ourselves, what are we doing about it? I'm deeply humbled at this award, but note that the award belongs to all the young people I've been working with for the last 10 years in various forms. I work at the Kathrada Foundation, a legacy foundation meant to take forward the values and ideals that Kathrada, Mandela, and others of that generation stood for. I do this through organizing, mobilizing, and ensuring that young people are aware and build a consciousness towards action. Today we're faced with threats of climate change, huge issues of mental health, the threat of gender-based violence against children and against women and all marginalized communities. Service delivery not meted out, freedoms being eroded in South Africa and parts of the world, which are a huge, huge challenge that we have to support and ensure that we are part of those that are counted as progressive change makers who love those freedoms and love those values in practical means. Youth unemployment is at its highest it's ever been, unsustainably high. It's not possible for us to continue the way we are without addressing these fundamental issues in our society. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? We are the ones we've been waiting for and have to enact that change. The Constitution is a living document that allows us to enact those values. But without the people honoring it, holding people to account, and using that document in their everyday lives towards furthering equality, furthering freedom, we ourselves will not attain that in our lifetime. And we have to ask ourselves why. Why aren't we doing the work that needs to be done in order to enact that change? Thank you for this award. Much of, in fact, all of the award money will be going to start a fund that will support young teachers in the field of civic education and human rights education, in the hope that this can continue building a new generation of real impactful educators and activists who are going to enact change. I call on everyone, or those who are watching this, to support this fund by donating towards it, in ensuring that there's a new generation who is supported in this type of work, who holds true to the values of Madiba and Kathrada and the likes. Because really, if we don't do it now, we forsake our future. Thank you.
At the opening of the inaugural Artfluence Human Rights Festival in May 2021, the Centre for Creative Art presented legendary South African satirist Peter Dek Ace as a keynote speaker for the festival. His satirical, poignant, and dramatic address was a moving testimony about why the arts is so vital for the defense of human rights and for giving people their right to dignity. This year, the Centre for Creative Art is proud to present social anthropologist Conrad Koch as the keynote speaker. Catapulted into the arts sector, Conrad's voice has been loud and bold against racism. Conrad is also South Africa's top comedy ventriloquist and a double international Emmy-nominated comedian. His most famous puppet, Chester Missing, has won numerous awards in his own right, including being the first recipient of the Amhed Kathrada Foundation's Anti-Racism Award. Chester Missing has interviewed most of South Africa's political elite and has held a number of regular radio and TV slots, and even wrote an award-winning book. Conrad's live shows have received wide political acclaim and a regular feature at arts and comedy festivals, including at the prestigious Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal. Conrad claims that the truth is, with a master's degree in social anthropology, talking to puppets was his only career option. The Artfluence Human Rights Festival presents Conrad Koch, also known as Chester Missing, as the keynote speaker at the 2022 Artfluence Human Rights Festival.
Hello, my name's Chester Missing, and I'd just like to start off by apologizing for the next 10 minutes.
Hello, Conrad here, Chester Missing's sidekick. I'm going to be speaking instead of Chester, which I know is a bit abnormal.
They asked me to talk.
Come on, bruh, these guys are waiting to hear what we have to say. Stop interrupting me.
Dude, I'm the famous one. I'm the one people want to listen to.
No, hang on a second. Let me just do this.
Be quiet. Nobody wants to hear you talk.
What an amazing concept. Artfluence, a festival about art for change. I mean, of course, that's what we need to be talking about. And the concept of freed imaginations, resilience, action, and change. And I love that theme because freed imaginations is the point of doing this. It's to say the unsayable. We often say that in this sort of nebulous way, but I'll give you an example. If you go to Jacaranda FM and talk about the concept that white people benefited from apartheid, you'll be very swiftly sided off Jacaranda FM. They're not keen to hear about that, and there are a lot of institutions and places where that's true. Some things are unsayable. The concept that white people didn't benefit from apartheid is preposterous. The whole point of apartheid was that it benefited white people. So surely that should be sayable everywhere in this country, and this is the dynamic of South Africa, is that we do not have a shared truth about what's happened. At the end of apartheid, we weren't read the Riot Act as a country in many ways, and white people in particular. I know we say we know this, but I think that the truth of it infiltrates into every aspect of our society, and art is no exception. So this whole thing is about art, and the problem is that I'm not really an artist. I studied like a year of drama. I'm more of an anthropologist who uses art to talk about anthropology. So my view of this is very anthropological. I see us as being part of a large system, an economic system, a system of of cultural capital, a system of ideas, a system of competing narratives that are profoundly affected by who has the money. And art is just another aspect of that system. It's not somehow magically outside of it, although artists do have license because of the way we think about us. It doesn't mean that art's being used for the right reasons. And I think we get way too comfortable in that. You see, we need to understand the country we're living in. This country is profoundly unjust. 6 out of 10 senior managers in South Africa are still white. In other words, if you go to the workplace, you need to subscribe some ways to what white people will understand about you. If your accent sounds like something that they don't trust or we relate to, when people start changing their accents. 187 of the best schools in the country are still in previously white areas. If you want to be treated as normal in that school, best you sound like one of those Model C kids, as we used to call them. We need to understand that white South Africans are still 5 times on average wealthier than black South Africans. This profoundly shapes the entire conversation about art and what art means, who has access to respect. See, in anthropology, we have a concept called a ritual of rebellion. A ritual of rebellion is where you mock the king or the queen for a day, and it's a big laugh, and you release massive social tension. You say things would normally be completely unsayable. It's art, but does it actually change anything? And my concern is that for much South African art, we are just doing a ritual of rebellion. I myself have gone to interview politicians. I've gone into the Lutuli House, and Chester told Gwede Mantashe that it's an old age home for corrupt guys. Did it actually change anything? I'm not sure it did. It did say the unsayable, and I think that is a really good thing, because often the unsayable just doesn't get said, and I think it's really important that art does that. But this conversation we're having now about freed imagination, about saying the unsayable, and then resilience, action, and change need to be taken very seriously. How do we really create change when the economic system we're living in is itself racist? So, for example, who gets commissioned to create art? What theatre pieces get booked into what theatres? What gets seen as I see some writers of theatre pieces and reviews say, oh, this is an important work. Why is it important work? For me, important work is watching a young comic of colour going into places where would never normally be comedy and saying the unsayable to people who would never normally hear it. Now that's important work, but will it be treated as important work within the art establishment? I'm not sure. Part of the problem is who gets access to being seen as knowledgeable in the world in a subject that has expertise is very much a part of the apartheid privilege dynamic. Me, myself, I have a master's degree in social anthropology. I have that master's degree because I had parents who could support me. I got to go to the right kind of schools. As we know, 187 of the top 200 schools in South Africa are in previously white areas. In other words, who gets access to tertiary education and especially the luxury of studying the arts? I mean, Chester points out at my show on anti-racism, I mean, how entitled is it? Playing with puppets for a living. Can you imagine a kid of color, mid-80s, going, Mummy, Daddy, I'm going to play with dolls for the rest of my life? There's a profound level of racism that has put me where I am right now. And we need to be talking about that racism. We need to be talking about who is the establishment. For example, who gets to study at UCT drama? Who gets to study music at Wits Music? And how do we look down on people who didn't get to study that? If you had to go become a graphic designer and didn't get to study fine art, you will not be treated in the same way, even though those choices are directly a product of apartheid privilege. We need to be reflecting on who gets to book people to be on a film set, who gets to direct films, who gets to fund films. Will they prefer their colored person to have a certain accent? Whose narratives get told? And our art, in many ways, is just another place South Africa's racist legacy gets shaped and continued. How do we shake that up when the fundamental system itself is racist? If my audiences are racist, how do I speak back to them and still get them to come into the room? And this is why it's so important, this concept of resilience, action, and change. When we saw Steve Hofmeyr tweeting years ago on Twitter that, because I don't know where else you would tweet, Elon Musk might change that. But where we saw Steve Hofmeyr tweet in my book, as he said, blacks are the architects of apartheid, basically blaming black people for apartheid, a deeply racist statement. The first option is to make a joke about Steve. But the problem is that doesn't change anything. That speaks to my group of people who like laughing at those right-wing bad racists. And it gives Steve's chance to go, oh, look how those liberals are mocking our Afrikaans identity, which is of course not true, but it's how it gets portrayed. And so we just continue the same system. Two white guys making a lot of noise in the media. But really, what changes? Of course, with this situation, the only way I could see to change it was to dive in with my own career and go for people who actually book me for gigs. You know, the corporate people who sponsored his events. And that's where the resilience comes in. One has to do the hard thing. One has to sit there to make sure that you stand by until the changes happen. It takes action that isn't just a ritual of rebellion. How do we create this in art when the people who fund art are themselves the people we need to rebel against? I mean, look at this event right now. The last person to speak here was Peter de Gees, a white guy from Cape Town. The next person to speak is Conrad Koch, a white guy from Cape Town. It's hard to see how do we change the system when even me, myself, am part of this system. For me, a key answer to this is sitting within that discomfort. Sitting within the discomfort of, wow, we've had two white guys in a row. That's probably problematic. Wow, should I even be talking on racism as a white South African when we have had so much platform to speak already? Sitting within the discomfort of that, because that discomfort is what takes the resilience, but it pushes one to action and pushes one to change. And often this filters into what's seen as credible forms of art. The establishment controls the whole system. So we'll define credible forms of art as art that appears here in the Baxter Theatre, art that speaks here at this wonderful festival, as opposed to what are the kids doing on TikTok? What are they saying in the stand-up comedy clubs? What are they saying on the streets? What are the poets saying? What are they tagging on walls around South Africa? Art lives where people are creating it. The fact is, often speaking truth to power is profoundly privileged and profoundly a product of the apartheid system. Because one needs resources to come to do this talk I'm doing now. One needs resources to log in and watch this on the internet. One needs data, one needs internet access, one needs a device. And most of South Africa simply doesn't have access to these resources. So if art is going to change this country, it needs to shape itself to the places where South Africans are and where art can actually happen. I know that many of you are doing amazing work in this regard. It's just that sitting within the discomfort of this is exactly how we create the impetus, the resilience, the action, and the change, so that we can free our imaginations to new ways of being South African, to new ways of engaging with each other. I mean, even the fact that this conversation is happening in English is a product of racism and colonialism. We need to be able to step outside of ourselves and see ourselves, and we need people who are capable of leading us there in ways that are freed up from the historic access to the institutions of learning, the historic access to what is seen as credible, in order to create a just conversation that creates a reconciliation that is truly fair for South Africa, and a rainbow nation that really includes everyone that's in it. I would have no idea how to do it, and that's discomfort. This discomfort I feel now as I speak to you is exactly what I'm hoping we will all drive ourselves towards, especially if you're a white, male, straight South African like myself. With all my love, thank you for having me here. I hope I did this platform justice.
I mean, you could have heard me tell jokes for the last 10 minutes, but instead you heard him go, wah, 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 wah. Artfluence, come on, it sounds like a spelling mistake. Hello, I'm an artist. Hello. Remember, guys, art needs to change things, because if it doesn't, it's not art. No, it's fart. Ah, I said it. I did a fart joke at an art festival. Yeah. Goodbye, Mike Kabejas. I love you, Ismail Muhammad. I love you so much. I love you. Oh, yeah, I love you, Ismail. Bye. No, really, bye.
I am Sipindile Hlongwa. I am an artfluencer. Join us throughout this week on our online festival as well as our live UMngeni festival. As I take leave from this Nelson Mandela Capture Site Museum, I'm joining UMngeni Tourism to see more sights and delights from the Midlands of KwaZulu-Natal. Do enjoy the festival.
Think moments and memories. Make magic and movies. Share between sons and daughters, or just friends in their quarter. More music, more movement, more space for amusement, where history was made and the future is paved. Adventure awaits. Together, embraced, just down the highway. Think Midlands, my way.